The spaceport market was loud, dirty, and packed with strange voices. Humans, aliens, robots, all shouting, bargaining, and moving crates. Dale Walker, a simple human technician, walked through the chaos holding a small tablet in his hand. He had one goal: buy cheap scrap parts for his workshop. But then he saw it. Lot 918. Damaged cargo. Clearance price, 12 credits. The image on the screen was blurry. It showed a large wooden crate, half broken, with the words "Furniture Returned" stamped on it. Dale laughed. Probably just a cracked chair or busted table. 12 credits? He pressed buy without thinking. 2 hours later, the crate arrived outside his small apartment unit. Dale dragged it inside. It was heavier than he expected. He pulled out his plasma cutter and sliced the seal open. The lid popped. Dust filled the air. Something inside moved. Dale stepped back. What the? He peered inside and froze. It wasn't a chair. It wasn't furniture. It was a person. Curled up in the shadows was a small, thin alien girl. Her arms were chained. Her knees pulled tightly to her chest. Her skin was covered in dirt. Her eyes, big, glowing, and terrified, blinked at the sudden light. She flinched. Dale's heart stopped. The girl looked like she hadn't eaten in days. Her clothes were torn. She didn't speak, just stared, like a wounded animal. Dale took a step back. I didn't buy a person, he whispered. The girl shifted. Slowly. Painfully. Then, in a soft, broken voice, she asked, "Are you my new owner?" Dale froze. "No," he said quickly. No, I didn't mean to, but..." She didn't seem to understand. She lowered her head. Her shoulders shook. Was she crying? Dale looked around his small room. He had no idea what to do. No idea what he had just stepped into. Okay, calm down," he said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you." He reached out gently. She flinched again, like she expected pain. Dale stopped. His hand hovered in the air. Then he lowered it. He turned away, walked into the kitchen corner and poured water into a cup. Then slowly, carefully, placed it beside the crate. The girl looked at it. She didn't move. Dale sat down on the floor across from her. "I didn't know there was someone inside," he said. "You were packed like trash." Minutes passed. She didn't speak. But her eyes kept glancing at the cup. Finally, she moved. A slow, shaking hand reached out. She grabbed the cup and brought it to her lips. She drank. All of it. Fast. Dale let out a long breath. "What happened to you?" he whispered. The girl wiped her mouth and curled back into the crate. Still silent. Still afraid. But watching him now. Not with fear, but confusion. He opened a ration pack and placed the food on the ground near her. She stared at it, then looked at him. "Eat," he said. "It's yours." She reached out slowly, touched it, then snatched it. She ate like she hadn't in days. Later that night, Dale sat at his desk staring at the auction site. He clicked on lot 918 again. Tiny text appeared under the listing. "Returned cargo. Unwanted. Sold as is. No refunds." There was no warning. No mention of a living being. Dale clenched his fists. This isn't right. Behind him, the girl had fallen asleep inside the crate. Still chained. Still cold. But breathing slowly. Peacefully. Dale stood up, walked to a drawer, and pulled out a blanket. He walked over and gently laid it on top of her. She didn't wake up. But her hands moved slightly, like she was holding it, like she knew it was warm. Dale sat down beside the crate. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her story. But something inside him whispered, she was never meant to be sold. Morning light crept through the small window of Dale's apartment, but the girl in the crate didn't move. She hadn't spoken since the night before. She just sat curled up, wrapped in the blanket he had given her, still wearing the same chains, still quiet and scared. Dale stood across the room, unsure. He didn't sleep much. His mind kept spinning. Who was she? Where did she come from? What kind of people sold living beings like broken objects? He didn't know the answers, but he knew one thing. She didn't deserve this. He walked into the kitchen and prepared a small bowl of warm soup. The smell filled the air. The girl's ears twitched slightly. Her eyes opened, but she didn't move. Dale placed the bowl on the floor just near the edge of the crate, then stepped back. No words, no orders, just silence and warmth. She watched him for a while. Slowly, carefully, she reached out one hand and pulled the bowl closer. She sniffed it, then took one sip, and then another. Soon, the bowl was empty. She licked her fingers like she hadn't tasted real food in weeks. Dale smiled just a little, but said nothing. He didn't want to scare her. After she finished, she glanced up at him, then looked down quickly, afraid she had done something wrong. Dale raised his hands gently and shook his head. No punishment. You're safe here. She tilted her head, confused. The word safe didn't mean much to her. Not yet. Later, Dale opened a small storage box and pulled out a soft cloth. He sat a few feet from her crate and began wiping his hands. The girl watched him quietly. He pointed at her arms. May I help clean you? She froze, then slowly raised one wrist, still in the metal cuff. Her hand trembled. Dale moved carefully, gently pressing the warm cloth to her skin. The dirt began to come off, and for the first time, he saw her skin's true color. A soft glow, like pale moonlight with silver lines across it. Beautiful, but also bruised, scratched, wounded. He didn't ask questions. He didn't push, just cleaned the dirt away, slowly. And she let him. When he finished, she looked at him with wide eyes. She touched the clean skin, then looked back at him, her lips parted, unsure. Why? She asked, voice barely a whisper. Why? You do this? Dale blinked, her first real words. He swallowed. Because no one else did. He answered softly. She stared at him for a long time, then did something unexpected. She scooted slightly, out of the crate, just a few inches, but it meant everything. She was leaving the safety of her hiding place. Trust was beginning. He pointed to himself. Dale, he said slowly. She blinked, then whispered back. Dale. He nodded. She pointed to herself. Her. Ka. She struggled, tried again. Jera. Dale smiled. Jera. She nodded, her name, spoken by someone who didn't hurt her. It sounded new, different, like it meant something again. Hours passed quietly. She didn't talk much, but she sat on the floor now, still close to the crate but not inside it, still silent, but watching him work. She seemed fascinated by his tools, wires, bolts, small lights. He showed her a few things, and her fingers mimicked his movements. She was smart, quick, and curious. But then, someone knocked on the door. Bang, bang, bang. Jera jumped. She scrambled back into the crate and curled into a ball, shaking, terrified. Dale stood and opened the door carefully. Just a delivery drone. A package. He closed it and locked the door again. It's okay, he said. But she wouldn't move. She stayed hidden for the rest of the day. That night, as Dale laid on his bed, he saw her peek from the crate. Just a little. She looked at him, then slowly asked, You, not master? He shook his head. No, I'm not your master. She blinked again, then whispered. Then, what are you? Dale thought for a moment, then answered quietly. Maybe. Just a friend. She said nothing, but her eyes stayed on him. For the first time, there was no fear in them, only wonder. It had been 3 days since Dale opened that crate. Jera no longer slept inside it. She had moved to a small floor mat near his workbench. She still kept her chains on. Not because Dale made her, but because she didn't know how to live without. them yet. Dale offered to cut them off more than once, but every time she gently pulled her arms back. No, she'd whisper. They keep me quiet. He didn't understand fully, but he didn't push her. Not yet. Each morning Dale brought her food. He never made her speak, never ordered her to work, just gave her time, and slowly. Jera changed. She cleaned her hands after eating. She asked questions with her eyes. She listened when Dale showed her how to fix simple tools. She even tried speaking his name. Dale, she'd say. Then try again, slower. Dale. He always smiled. You're getting better. She looked proud when he said that. Sometimes she sat across from him and just watched him work. Her eyes followed every movement like she was memorizing it. She never touched anything without asking. And when she smiled, it was soft. Like she was afraid it might break. One quiet afternoon, Dale was fixing a broken light board. Jera was sitting nearby, drawing circles in the dust on the floor with her finger. Suddenly she spoke. Dale. He looked up. Yes? She tilted her head, then tapped her chest. Jera. He smiled. Yeah, I know. That's your name. She pointed to him, then paused. She opened her mouth as if to say, Dale again, but didn't. She lowered her hand, slowly, staring at him with big eyes, then quietly said a different word, a word he hadn't taught her, a word that didn't come from his language. Mate. Dale blinked. He stopped working. Wait, what? She smiled softly, tapping her chest again, then pointing to him. Mate, she repeated, this time more certain, more proud. Dale sat back, confused. No, I'm not your... I'm just Dale, he said, raising his hands gently. You don't have to call me that. Jera's smile faded slightly. Not owner, she said quietly. Not master. He nodded. Correct. Her voice turned even softer. Then, what is someone who gives? Food? Gives warmth? Protects? She tapped her chest again. Mate. Dale froze. He realized something. To her, the word didn't mean romance. Not the way humans used it. It meant belonging. It meant the one I stay with. He sighed, not knowing what to say. I'm just trying to help you, he said softly. Jera tilted her head. Her voice was steady now. You did more than help. You gave name, gave blanket, gave space. She looked down at her hands. The chains still wrapped loosely around her wrists. First time someone touched me without hurting. Then she looked up at him again, her voice quiet. That is... Mate. Dale felt his chest tighten. He didn't know what to say. So he just nodded. Not yes. Not no. Just... understanding. That night she didn't sleep on the floor mat. She curled, up beside the old heater in the corner. Dale gave her a pillow. She hugged it like a child. Before she closed her eyes, she whispered one more word. Mate. The word echoed in Dale's mind long after she fell asleep. It scared him a little, not because of her, but because he didn't hate the sound of it. Dale couldn't stop thinking about it. That word. Mate. Jera used it like it was the most natural thing in the galaxy. But Dale knew it wasn't. Not on Earth. Not in human society. He wasn't her owner. He wasn't her master. And he couldn't keep her like this, even if she wanted it. She was a person. Not something to be owned. She deserved freedom. The next morning, Dale made a decision. He stood near the table, holding a small document pad in his hands. The local embassy had helped him prepare it. It was a release form, a legal paper to give. Jera full freedom. She could travel, work, live wherever she wanted. She would no longer belong to anyone, not even him. Jera sat near the wall, playing with a small screwdriver. She liked turning it in her hands. When Dale called her, she looked up and smiled. But his face was serious. I need to show you something, he said. She stood and walked toward him. He handed her the tablet. There's a place downtown, he explained. People there help others like you. They speak many languages. She looked confused. He gently continued. I spoke with someone. I signed a paper. If you sign too, you'll be free. Jera blinked. Her hands froze. Free? She repeated. He nodded. No more chains. No more papers. No more ownership. You'll belong to yourself. She stared at the screen, then looked at him. Belong to myself? She asked softly. He smiled, trying to make it easy. Yes. You won't need me anymore. You can go anywhere. Her eyes changed. The glow in them faded. Her lips trembled. Then, slowly, she stepped back. Dale tilted his head. Jera? But she didn't answer. She fell to her knees. Hard, like someone had knocked the air out of her. Tears fell from her eyes instantly. No, she whispered. No. Please don't. Dale dropped to her side. Hey, it's not a punishment, he said quickly. I'm not sending you away, I just thought. But she shook her head, over and over. No leave, she cried. Please. I stay, I be useful, I clean, I fix, I be quiet. Her hands reached for his shirt, clutching it tightly. I don't want to be alone again. Dale froze. His chest ached. He looked down at her shaking form, her bruised knees, her chained wrists, her broken voice. This wasn't a girl asking for safety. This was someone begging not to be abandoned. He touched her shoulder gently. You're not being thrown away, he whispered. I thought I was doing the right thing. Her voice cracked. You are my home, not place. You. Silence filled the room. A silence heavy with truth. Dale swallowed hard. He closed the tablet and set it aside, then slowly pulled Jera into a soft hug. At first, she stiffened, then melted into his arms, tears soaking his shirt. They sat like that for a long time. No more words, just breathing, just trust. Later that night, Dale removed the chains from her wrists. She didn't pull away this time. He wrapped her, hands in a soft cloth, and rubbed the sore skin gently. Her voice was small. What? Am I now? He looked into her glowing eyes. You're free, he said softly. She looked down. Then can I choose to stay? He smiled. Yes. She smiled back, and for the first time it didn't look broken. The days had become calm. Jera was finally smiling. She helped Dale in the workshop, passing him tools, sorting parts, even fixing small circuits. She had steady hands and a sharp memory. Dale often said, You're learning faster than I did. She blushed when he said that. She wore simple clothes now. Clean. Comfortable. The chains were gone. But the old fear? It still hid deep inside her. And on that cold afternoon, it returned. A loud knock hit the door. Bang, bang, bang. Dale wiped grease off his hands. Probably another delivery, he said. Jera sat near the corner, sorting wires. She froze when she heard the knock. Her eyes narrowed, then widened. She whispered, That sound. I know it. Dale opened the door, and everything changed. A tall, thick-skinned alien male stood there. His armor was dark. His eyes were narrow. His voice was like gravel. You have something that belongs to me, the alien growled. Dale frowned. I think you're at the wrong unit. The alien shoved forward a hologram, Zara's old auction tag. Lot Tur-918, returned cargo. She escaped. The alien hissed. She was mine before the auction failed. I'm here to take her back. Jera screamed from inside the room. She ran behind Dale and grabbed his arm tightly. No, please, not him. The alien's lips curled. You remember me, little thing? He took a step inside. Dale stepped in front of her. She's not yours, Dale said firmly. She's under my protection now. She's property, the alien spat. She was marked. Not anymore, Dale snapped. I signed her. Freedom. She stays with me. By choice. The alien scoffed. You can't bond with a slave. Dale's voice dropped. She's not a slave. She's family. Jera trembled behind him. Her fingers dug into Dale's shirt. Her breathing grew, sharp and fast, old fear, old pain. Too many memories, she whispered. He beat me. Locked me in cold. Called me it. The alien growled again. I'll take her by force. He raised his hand, but Jera moved first. With a cry that shook the walls, she stepped in front of Dale and stood tall between her past and her present. I belong here, she shouted. I choose this human. I will not go with you. Her voice cracked, but her body didn't. She was scared, but standing. The alien growled and moved forward. Dale raised his voice. Stop. I've already sent your ID to the police. One more step and your whole record goes to the local enforcers. He held up his wristband. A blinking light showed active recording. The alien paused. He looked at Jera, then at Dale, then he sneered. This isn't over, human. He turned and left. The door closed. Silence. Jera slid to the floor, gasping. Her hands shook. Her whole body trembled, but she looked up at Dale and smiled. A weak smile, but full of something stronger than fear. Hope. Dale knelt beside her. You okay? She nodded slowly. He wanted to take me again, she whispered. But I didn't run. Dale touched her face gently. No. You stood. She nodded again, then whispered, because now, I have someone worth standing for. Later that night, she laid her head on Dale's lap. He stroked her hair gently. I won't let anyone hurt you again, he said. I know, she whispered, then added softly, Mate protects. And Dale realized something. She wasn't the only one who had changed. So had he. Word spread fast on the station. A human lives with a slave girl. A former auction piece calls him mate. She eats at his table, sleeps in his room. People didn't understand it, so they laughed. They pointed at her, whispered behind his back. When Dale and Jera walked into the public tech hall, the room went quiet. A mechanic with 4 arms nudged another alien and said, There goes, the human who bought his girlfriend by mistake. Another laughed. Hope he got a good refund. Jera heard every word, but she didn't flinch. She walked beside Dale, calm and proud. Her hand brushed his gently, and her whisper reached only him. Let them laugh. I walk with my mate. Dale smiled, half proud, half sad. He didn't want her to carry this weight, but Jera didn't seem weak anymore. She stood taller now, eyes forward, no chains. One day Dale was asked to present at a local engineering fair. His tools had fixed dozens of failing power units. He was nervous but honored. Jera helped him pack his tools and stood at the edge of the stage as he began to speak. Dale showed how one small part could repair a full engine, how kindness could also fix machines just like people. Some clapped politely, but one alien, a traitor from a known slave world, stood and shouted, You teach kindness, but you live with trash. He pointed at Jera. She was a product. She should be cleaning your boots, not sharing your home, the crowd murmured. Dale's hand clenched. Jera said nothing, until the traitor stepped forward, angry, red-eyed. She doesn't belong beside you? He reached into his belt and pulled out a blaster. Screams filled the room. People ducked. Dale froze. But before the traitor could aim, Jera moved. She leaped between Dale and the weapon. Her body slammed into him, pushing him to the ground. Bang! The shot rang out. Jera cried out and dropped to her knees. Blood on her shoulder, but her arms stayed spread. Shielding Dale, still standing, still protecting. Security rushed in and took the traitor down. Dale crawled to her side. Jera, no, 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 stay with me. Her face was pale, her breath shaky, but her eyes found his. I said, I would stand for you. He held her tightly. You didn't have to. She smiled, weak but proud. I wanted to. Later in the medbay, she lay on a clean bed, bandaged, safe. The shot had gone through her shoulder but missed her heart. Doctors said she would heal, slowly, but she would live. When Jera opened her eyes, Dale was already there. He didn't say anything, just held her hand. Finally she whispered, "They still laugh?" Dale smiled gently. Not anymore. In fact, the news had already spread. Slave girl saves human life. Alien defends her rescuer. The bond that was mocked just saved a man's life. Later, strangers sent food and flowers. A local merchant gave her a warm coat. Another offered free lessons. People who had once laughed now bowed their heads with respect. But Zara didn't care about the news or the praise. She only cared about him. And when Dale kissed her forehead softly, she whispered, "Mate protects human, too." The crate still sat in the corner of Dale's workshop. He had never thrown it away. It was empty now, cleaned, polished, not because he wanted to keep junk, but because that broken wooden box had brought her into his life. Sometimes, Zara would sit beside it, running her fingers across the rough wood. "This," she would whisper, "was my cage." Then she'd turn to Dale and smile softly. "But now I sleep in a bed, not on the floor, and I eat with a fork, not my hands." He always smiled back. "You were never meant to live in a crate." Jera had healed. Her shoulder was strong again. She wore her scars like quiet medals, not proud but not ashamed. She had learned to read Dale's language. She fixed small machines herself, and at night, she no longer curled up in fear. She laid beside him, safe. One morning, Dale stood in front of the mirror, buttoning his shirt. Jera stepped up behind him, holding something in her hands. It was a small handmade chain, woven from silver wire and smooth beads. She reached up and placed it around his neck. He looked down. "What's this?" Jera smiled shyly. "In my culture, it means bond chosen by heart." She looked into his eyes. "No one gave me to you. I chose to stay." Dale felt something deep inside him. He had once bought a crate thinking it held a chair. Instead, it gave him a partner, a friend, a protector, a heart. Later that week, they visited the central square, not hiding, not afraid. People greeted them, some still unsure, but most with quiet smiles. One older woman whispered to Dale, "You changed her life." Jera, overhearing, replied softly, "No, he didn't change it." She reached for Dale's hand and held it tight. He gave it back. That evening, they returned home. Dale placed 2 mugs of warm tea on the table. Jera leaned against his side, eyes half closed from peace, not fear. Outside, the stars glowed. Inside, 2 people sat, once strangers, now family. Jera whispered something, almost to herself. "I used to be nothing, just a thing. But now..." She looked up at Dale. "Now I have a name, a voice, a place." Dale didn't answer with words. He just pulled her close, kissed her forehead, and held her, and that was enough. Sometimes love doesn't begin with roses. Sometimes it begins with broken things, with old crates, chained hands, and one person who decides, "You're not trash, you're treasure." And Dale, who only wanted a chair that day, went home with something far greater. Not just someone to sit beside, but someone who stood beside him, forever.